Pass the bucket.
Hey everybody, it's Kenning, and this month we're going to cover Warrior. That's right, you guys voted, and Warrior was the top pick from the straw poll for this month's feature class. So we are going to look at probably the most common or well-known Warrior deck first, and that's the Control Warrior. The Aggro Warrior I'll probably look at next week because that's starting to make a little bit of a comeback, and it's fun to play too. But quick deck list rundown, and we'll go straight into the gameplay. So you got 2 Executes, 2 Shield Slams, 2 Whirlwinds, 2 Fiery War Axes, 2 Slams, and Acidic Swamp Ooze. This is probably what you want to run if you don't have a Harrison Jones. And I don't, so I'm running an Acidic Swamp Ooze. 2 Armor Smiths, 2 Cruel Taskmasters, 2 Shield Blocks, 2 Acolytes of Pain, a Big Game Hunter. Now this is subject to whatever you're seeing on the meta. If you're seeing a lot of Rush aggro decks, you might want to swap this out for an MCT, Mind Control Tech. Big Game Hunter is here for those really big minions. Cochrane Elite, there's 2 of those. A Brawl for board clear, Faceless Manipulator, Black Knight, Gorehowl, Barongeddon, Gromish, Ragnaros, and Alexstrasza. Holy shit, Kenning, this is expensive. Yes, the Control Warrior is an expensive deck. That's just how it works. And it works very well, I might add. Now, this is pretty much Kit Kat's version. I think, honestly, the only thing that might be different is the fact that he has got a Harrison Jones. I run a 6 Swamp Ooze. And really, all I miss out on there is the card draw. So, there's a few things to know about Control Warrior. Basically, this first part here, this first half of the low cost is for controlling the board. And you're going to be stacking up some armor, drawing your cards for your late game, which is, of course, down here. And basically, the Control Warrior outlasts everything else on the meta and wins. So why don't we go ahead and jump into the gameplay, and I'll show you what I mean. Oh, goody. Look, it's a rogue. Control Warrior against Miracle Rogue, perhaps? Let's see how this works out. So let's see. We don't want to use Gromish, Execute, Fire War Axe, and Cruel Taskmaster. We're going to keep all of these because it gives us some form of early removal. Although arguably, if this is a Miracle Rogue, they may not play a lot of minions early on. They may have a lot of removal too. And actually, I'm going to pass on Execute because of that reason. Cruel Taskmaster and Shield Block. Alright, fair enough, that's good. Shield Block is always good because we can get some armor early on. Especially if we get one of those Shield Slams. And Whirlwind, excellent. Okay, yeah, I think we'll coin Fiery War Axe. Let's coin it out. Pass the turn. Here's hoping he doesn't have an Acidic Swamp Ooze, right? Or a Harrison Jones. Alright, new weapons up. And we don't have a good turn to ourselves. We can always hero power because armor is strong. It especially helps us with things like Shield Slam. I don't see any reason whatsoever to go for face with our Fiery War Axe. I mean, very, very seldom do you want to do that. Generally toward the end of the game when you're trying to get those extra few points for lethal. Turn 3, we're probably going to Shield Block. We have a little bit of removal if we need to use it. The point of this deck is to keep his side of the opponent's side of the board clear. So if he plays something, we need to remove it to the best of our ability. But if he does not, yeah, that's kind of a common play for a rogue. I think I will use our Fiery War Axe charge. We're going to armor up, and we get another Fiery War Axe. That absolutely solidifies the fact that I'm going to use my Fiery War Axe for that Earthring Farseer. And that's why you always want to draw a card first. If you always have the option, you're thinking out your plays for that particular turn, any play that involves drawing cards, do those first. In this case, it didn't matter per se, but by seeing the second Fiery War Axe, that absolutely helped me make up my mind that, well, I've already got one, got another one in my hand, absolutely use it. Don't use like a Shield Slam. Excuse me. Armor Smith. Armor Smith is good. That yeah, I don't see any reason to trigger it. Now, the other option would have been Conquering Elite, but the Conquering Elite's kind of here more for a removal than, a to the face. This isn't an aggro. For example, this Drake right here is a good target for Conquering Elite. I could also Shield Slam, and that gives me 4 mana, which means I can Conquering Elite to the face. Well, now that is interesting. Let's see, he's going to have things like Edwin Van Cleef, but I can always Whirlwind Execute or Shield. I have 2 Shield Slams, actually, so let's go ahead and do that. Armor up again, and I'm going to Cruel Taskmaster. This is going to give us a little bit more armor, and it's going to buff up our Armor Smith to a 3/3. Allow me to push in a little bit of damage. I mean, I do want to put a little bit of pressure on this guy. I don't want to just let him run rampant and not take any damage the entire game until I get down to Alexstrasza. Although, arguably, until I put down Alex, that first 15 damage doesn't do any good, right? Because we're just negating that by playing Alexstrasza. But I don't want him to think that he's got a free run. I mean, I got to at least apply some pressure to make him, think that he's in the game and he doesn't just roll all over me. I'm not sure that explanation made sense. It made sense in my head, but I don't think I explained it well. The bottom line is, if you can do damage, always do damage, but don't try to do damage to the opponent unless you've cleared everything else first. Let's go with that. Alright. Up to 40 health. Most excellent. There is our Execute. Let's go ahead and use some of that awesome health. We are going to Conquer an Elite. And I'm going to play my Fiery War Axe. So I got a little bit more removal in case I need it. Now, we have none of our big cards coming in. Our Baron Geddon hasn't showed up, although we don't really need it. Ragnaros hasn't showed up. Alexstrasza hasn't showed up. Grommash hasn't showed up yet. So we're going to really need to start cycling cards, or we're going to stall here, because we're getting close. Turn 7, turn 8, we need to make sure that we have those cards in our hand. I have no card draw. These are all removal spells. Armor up past the turn. I mean, yeah, I guess I could have used the Fiery War Axe. That would have brought him down to 14. But at that point, he's almost, by running his face and removing, he's almost ruined our use of Alexstrasza, so we really don't need her anymore. Alright. That might have been a misplay. This can be used for removal, so. We have our Whirlwinds. Let's, Alright, he's pretty much negated our use of Alexstrasza, so let's just go ahead and do it the hard way. If she comes out, we can use her as a heal. If we even need it. Turn 8 looks like it's going to be a Grommash Whirlwind. And I believe, let me do math, that's 10, 3, all minions. Okay, so we're 1 short. But let's go ahead and do that anyway. We're 1 short. He's been put on notice. So he's got to... he's got... Now, all right, we don't have 1 damage in our hand. So if he removes Grommash, we actually can't kill him next turn. Risky, not exactly, because he's got 1 health, and we have 38. So you don't always want to try to get him to almost lethal and then get him lethal the next turn, because if you're playing out that way, you never know what can happen in that turn in between. But in this case, we were well ahead, and that's a decent showing of the Control Warrior. Like I said, you're going to have to... Well, you're going to have to practice with Control Warrior a lot. There's a lot of different combinations and a lot of different ways. This is essentially how it plays out, where you stall in the beginning and then you use one of your legendaries, your Alex, Rag, Grommash in the end. Let me know if you have any questions. Be sure to check out our live stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, almost 5 days a week now. And post in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you got a deck you want me to feature, also post that. And I will see you next time.